Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another Logan Blackman Show YouTube video. I hope you all have had a fantastic week because it's been a long ass time since we have seen each other. It's been 1 week since we have last talked to each other. And how are you doing? How are the kids? How's your wife? Like all that great stuff. We'll get all the pleasantries out of the way because we are here to talk about the United States men's national team upcoming match against Costa Rica, which will be taking place on Sunday in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a doubleheader game with Canada and Guatemala, and I am really excited for this game. The United States is obviously coming off a 2-1 win against Haiti, in Arlington. That's where the game was. I almost forgot where the game was. But they're coming away with a 2-1 victory. 9 points on the board. Wins in each of their 3 games throughout the Gold Cup. 5-0 win against Trinidad and Tobago. A 1-0 win against Saudi Arabia. And of course, the 2-1 win against Haiti. The United States in this tournament, 8 goals to their name. I can't remember if it's the joint most goals in the tournament or the third most goals in the tournament. And I know that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because why would it either be the most goals in the tournament or third? And we're not including second. But it's either the joint most or the third most, not second. So do not get that confused. But the United States, I would say overall, has put forth a good showing so far this Gold Cup. Yes, there's been some frustrating moments in there, like a game against Saudi Arabia, there were some frustrating moments. In this game against Haiti, there were some frustrating moments, but hey, they put together some really well-worked attacks in this game. We saw some changes in the starting lineup. We saw John Tolkien go in for Max Arvston. We saw Tyler Adams go in for Berhalter. We saw Quinn Sullivan come in for Jack McGlynn and Brendan Aronson come in for Diego Luna, who got an assist in this game. A nice little chip ball to the back post to Malik Tillman, who's just having a fantastic tournament up until this point. 3 goals to his name so far. And in this game against Haiti, he really could have had like 10. Like he had 3 goals. He had 2 balls that hit the back of the net. One of them hit his arm. One of them was ruled offsides. And then he had one that that was just wide after a beautiful ball over top by Tyler Adams. Really well controlled by Malik Tillman. Wait, no. That was the one he was ruled offsides. There was another one in there that I'm completely forgetting about. I don't remember what that one was, but regardless, Malik Tillman has had himself one of the best tournaments out of the United States players. You would say him and Chris Richards have been the United States 2 best players so far this tournament, and Tillman has realistically put himself in the conversation of being one of the starters on the A team. I don't know if that's a little crazy to say, but with Giovanni Reyna not really putting up the performances, but not even playing for Borussia Dortmund, he's pretty much just a show pony for Borussia Dortmund in this Club World Cup. He hasn't gotten a single minute so far for Borussia Dortmund, and we haven't really seen him the performances for the United States. We saw Pochettino prefer Diego Luna in the game against Canada back in February, whenever that game was in the Nations League. I can't remember exactly, March, February. I like to put that game completely out of my memory, but we're not really seeing Giovanni Reyna in that conversation. Christian Pulisic, as we know, is not a natural number 10. I know he wants to play in there. He wants to have him that Christian Eriksen role, but that's just not the type of player Christian Pulisic is. And I think regardless, if you want to play Tillman as the number 10 or even on the left, we've seen him sometimes on the left, we saw him sometimes on the right, like just anywhere along that attacking midfield trio, he's got to be in that conversation. He's just had a fantastic tournament. There's been some people that are like, man, I was ready to give up on Malik Tillman. But we're back, and I know it's not against the toughest opponents in the world. Yes, I know Trinidad and Tobago, Saudi Arabia, and Haiti are not necessarily world beaters, but hey, against these weaker teams, you want players with Malik Tillman's skill level to be putting forth these style performances. He's getting a move to Bayer Leverkusen this summer as well, so we'll see how that works out for him, going to play under Erik ten Hag there. So I'm cheering for him, I'm rooting for him, so we'll see how that goes. But again, he's had himself a fantastic tournament up to this point. Other players that play well, we brought up Brendan Aronson with the assist in there, but Quinn Sullivan getting his second start for the United States men's national team. Remember the last time we saw him was in that shit show game against Switzerland. That was not, I would like to not really talk about that game all too much, but all I can really say about that, Quinn Sullivan got subbed off at halftime, but he was very dangerous in this game coming off the right. We saw one of his shots hit the crossbar. He had a nice little Rabona cross into the box as well. He had a couple nice little crosses in there as well to Patrick Agyemang. Like, Quinn Sullivan was really, really dangerous on that right side. And I would not be shocked in the slightest if he deserved or warranted another start in this upcoming game against Costa Rica. We didn't really need to see a whole lot from the defense in this game. John Tolkien had a really close free kick shot that just hit the side netting. He also got an assist, chipped the ball over top to Patrick Agyemang, who slotted that home. And I do want to talk about Patrick Agyemang because this is a guy that really is divides the right word? Because I guess so, but he's dividing U.S. men's national team Twitter like freaking crazy. And when I say divide, I mean complete polar opposites of each other. It seems like you either like Patrick Agyemang, there's not a lot of love for Patrick Agyemang, but like Patrick Agyemang, or you absolutely hate Patrick Agyemang. It feels like there's people that are actively rooting for Patrick Agyemang to fail, and I don't really like that. It doesn't really fill me with the most spirit. Like, I see some people talking about he's the new age Jesus Ferreira, because remember, you go back to recent Gold Cup tournaments, and Jesus Ferreira would play himself into that starting striker conversation because he's scoring shit ton of goals against mediocre opposition. Like, I think he has like 15 goals and 23 or something caps for the United States men's national team, but the problem was the difference between Jesus Ferreira and Patrick Agyemang is that Jesus Ferreira is not built like a natural striker. He's 5'9". He's a natural, like, deep-lying playmaker. Or not deep-lying playmaker, that's the wrong term, but like a striker that plays a little bit more back. Not somebody that's going to lead the line for you. We saw that in the game against Holland in the World Cup. I'm intrigued to see what Patrick Agyemang's future is, because do I think he's a limited player? Yes. Does he look like does he seem very, very awkward when he's dribbling the ball, when the ball's at his feet? Yes. Does he trip over his own feet sometimes? Yes. Do I trust him 100% when he's one-on-one with the opposition's goalkeeper? Not 100%. Not at all. Like, there was a moment in the game against Haiti where he had a ball played in through to him, and he had a one-on-one opportunity, and I don't know if he was like, maybe I'm offside, so maybe he was like playing it off a little bit, but it was saved. You have a one-on-one opportunity against the goalkeeper. Clinical strikers and strikers that you want to start for your national team, finish those chances. Regardless if it's offsides or not, you still want to see your strikers finish those style of chances. But for what he does lack in regards to like natural skill set and all of that, because like I've seen people call him Bambi on ice and stuff like that, and I can see it to some capacity, but he does make good runs and around the team. Like, he does suck in defenders. He's very athletic. He's very big. I think he can play a role. I don't think this is exactly same situation that we saw with Jesus Ferreira. I think the big-bodied striker, physical striker, and he can score goals. Again, he's not necessarily the most clinical guy in the world, and I'm not sitting here saying that he's going to be the main number 9 for the United States going forward. I don't really see a world where he gets past like a Balogun and Ricardo Pepi, but when you see guys like Josh Sargent, who are doing really well for Norwich City down in the championship, but haven't scored a goal for the national team since 2019, like, that's where you kind of look at, like, okay, maybe there is a reality where Patrick Agyemang is the number 3 striker in that category. Like we talked about Haji right before, about is he a guy that you're going to see playing more on the wing, or are we going to see as a striker? And he's withdrawn from this tournament altogether with that Achilles injury. Damian Downs is also, he was out in this game against Haiti as well. Again, I'm not sitting here like championing Patrick Agyemang and saying that he's the greatest striker of all time, or he's the guy to lead the United States into the 2026 World Cup and lead the line for the United States, but I don't think he's as useless as what some people say he is. I'm not sitting here, I don't want to act like he's terrible. He's far from great. He's far from the finished product. He's a very raw player, as you can see by that. But the amount of vitriol, the amount of hate that he seems to get on social media, I think takes it to a little extreme. I think we're a little extreme with some of the comments surrounding Agyemang. I did think his goal was nice. I did think he had a nice left-footed finish in there, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what his future role is with the national team, but we know Pochettino likes him. Pochettino has continuously started him. I know we've had the injuries with Downs and Haji Wright in there as well, but picking him over Josh Sargent, like, he likes Patrick Agyemang. So it doesn't matter what you or I think. It kind of does seem like there's a reality where he is, or it could be, maybe he already is, the number 3 striker. Maybe he's even higher for Pochettino on this list. But while we're talking about positional battles here, I cannot ignore Matt Freese. Matt Freese basically assisted Lucius on that goal. Tim Ream plays the ball back to him. He tries to play it first time with his left, just passes it right to Lucius, who does, to be fair, a beautiful bending shot with his left foot to the back corner. And that's a situation where, yes, Matt Freese screwed up massively and he cannot play with his feet to save his life, but Tim Ream, being the experienced player that he is that the smartest pass to make in that situation? Yes, you would love to say, like, Matt Turner can clear that because he has a clear shot to the sideline, but you kind of put him in a rough situation to begin with anyways. But regardless, it was a terrible pass from either party. Tim Ream back pass was not great. It just put him in a weird spot, and Matt Freese just absolutely shanked it. I don't even know what you want to call that, but I don't know what it is with the United States men's national team goalkeepers and their inability to play with their feet. Because Matt Turner, we've talked about this problem with Matt Turner for years now, and now Matt Freese is at the forefront of that. I don't think, though, this puts his spot in jeopardy in regards to looking at this game against Costa Rica, and I just want to remind people that he was the 4th choice goalkeeper going into this tournament. Reminder, Patrick Schulte and Zach Steffen were the number 2 and 3 goalies behind Matt Turner in this tournament. If those two did not pick up injuries, we would have probably seen Zach Steffen be the main star in this tournament. We could have seen Patrick Schulte be the main star in this tournament, but no. Matt Freese is the guy that's there. He's probably the 4th goalie on the depth chart just regardless, but he's the guy who's had to step in. So I think there has to be like a little bit I don't want to say leniency. I don't think that's the right word to use in this situation, but like, let's take a step back and go like, this is not the guy that I think is realistically battling Matt Turner for that number 1 spot. I think the 2 guys that are mainly battling him are not in the squad due to injuries. And maybe Matt Freese, like I talked with Patrick Ajami, maybe he is higher on the depth chart for Pochettino because of the performances that we've seen so far prior to that happening. Now, he hasn't had a shit ton to do. He did make some nice saves against Trinidad and Tobago, got a little bit more action, I guess you could say, against Saudi Arabia, but I don't think he's played bad this tournament, but that was a glaring moment where it's like, oh shit, that's our next guy. That's our next number 1. So the goalkeeping situation is a massive cloud of like despair for the United States men's national team. So you look at that pass by Matt Freese. Do we see Matt Turner get his spot back for the game against Costa Rica? Because this is not like Matt Turner is like, he's now benched for Matt Freese. I think this is just an opportunity for Pochettino to try and figure out who his other goalkeepers are. Matt Freese has been the main guy, and that play will just stick out in the minds because we are fans. What's the word I'm looking for? We are very fickle. Like, what have you done for me lately type thing. And that's the thing that's going to keep getting blown up. And it was terrible. It was bad. We talked about it against in the pregame for the Trinidad and Tobago game. We talked about Johnny Cardoso's goal against Turkey where he played it to Arda Güler and he just slotted in, where I talked about that was the worst goal I've seen in an international game. That was pretty bad. that was pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. That was pretty rough for Matt Freese. So we'll see how he's able to bounce back because, again, I don't really think he's in fear or should be in fear of losing his starting job going into this game against Costa Rica because I don't think he's done enough wrong other than that to put the team in harm's way. And I think if this game had more meaning, if the game against Haiti had more meaning, or the United States lost that game or drew that game, then maybe we'd have it a different conversation. But the fact that they won, I think, is still good enough for Pochettino to keep him as the number 1 or number 25 going into this next game. So there are some question marks around this national team, not just going into this game, but the future of the national team going into 2026 and all of that great stuff as well. But for Costa Rica, this is a team that got 7 points to their name this tournament. They got an impressive 4-3 win against Suriname. They got a 2-1 win against the Dominican Republic and basically just sat on their back heels the entire time against Mexico for a 0-0 draw. And they were down against Suriname. They were up 2-0, and then they found themselves down 2-3, and then they clawed their way back in that game against Dominican Republic. They found themselves down after, I think, the 16th minute or something like that. They had to claw their way back in that game. Manfred Ugalde got 3 penalties in this tournament, sending the goalkeeper the wrong way each and every time. He's tied with Malik Tillman for the joint most goals in this tournament so far with 3. I think Ismael Diaz from Panama is also in that conversation as well. But Ugalde, this is a big game for him, or for Costa Rica, because they're not going to be having Ugalde for yellow card accumulation. It's so annoying if you're a Costa Rica fan to see Ugalde get a yellow card in the 84th minute, knowing he's already on a yellow card from the game against the Dominican Republic. Now you're going into this game like a little bit nervy, and then you get one in the 84th minute. You have 10 or so minutes left in the game, plus added time and all that stuff, and you get the yellow card. So your leading goal scorer in this tournament is now out. So how are you able to bounce back from that? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Like, a lot of this pressure is going to go to Alonso Martinez, who plays for NYCFC in MLS. He has 8 goals and 1 assist to his name so far this season. He has 1 goal and an assist in this tournament as well. Both came in the game against Suriname. A lot is going to be thrown on his plate. They're also going to be without their starting right wing back in this game as well. As also got yellow card accumulation. Got one in, I think, the 50th something minute in the game against Mexico. So they're going to be down some key players. You also got some players missing the game due to injury. So Miguel Herrera is going to have a very interesting and tough task trying to figure out how to navigate this game against the United States, especially when you look at the fact in the past 8 meetings with Costa Rica, the United States has won 7 and drawn 1. So history is on the United States side right now. And in the all-time series, the United States has 19 wins to Costa Rica's 17. There's some draws in there. I don't remember the exact total in there, but wins and losses for the United States and Costa Rica in there. But the main guys you can look at, we talked about Ugalde as well. We talked about Alonso Martinez, but Keylor Navas is the heartbeat of this team, back in the national team. Older player now, experienced player, one of the greatest goalies in CONCACAF history in regards to like just I guess I already said, I was going to say one of the greatest goalies in CONCACAF history, and I was going to add something. I don't know, but we've seen him win Champions League with the Real Madrid. We saw him carry Costa Rica, or be one of the main cogs in Costa Rica's team that got super far in the 2014 World Cup, and he has been immense so far this tournament. 11 saves so far in this tournament so far for him. 11 saves so far this tournament so far for him. That's a good one. That's a really good one, which is the second most in this tournament behind Dominican Republic's goalkeeper. He has a shit ton of caps. He's the captain, and he's their leader. You saw that we talked about the game against Mexico where we had to stand on his head the entire time. He made some crazy saves in that game. When you look at like the stats in that game against Mexico, Costa Rica was pretty much just saying, hey, Kaylor, please save us because we're just standing on our back foot the entire time. We're not looking to attack at all. Like, if you look at, again, the stats in this game, like Costa Rica had 186 accurate passes to Mexico's 501. If you look at the passes in the opposition half, Costa Rica, I think, had 60 or 70 passes in the opposition half. Mexico had more passes in Costa Rica's half than they did in their own. They had like 270-something passes in Costa Rica's half. Costa Rica got 0 shots on target. Now, they did have some chances at the end of the first half, had some close calls in there, had a close call, and I think the 60-something minute hit the crossbar in that situation, but they just said, hey, Keylor Navas, we know you're an elite shot stopper. Yes, you're a little bit older, but you still got that in you. We're going to sit back a little bit, and you're just going to have to stay on your head the entire game because we need you to do something. And he did. He played fantastic in that game, and we talked about like this 0-0 draw. It was nearly a 1-0 win for Mexico. Santi Jimenez put a beautiful scissor kick goal in past Keylor Navas in the 96th, 97th minute. Like, we're in like the last gasp of the game, and Santi Jimenez puts a beautiful shot in on net, and he's ruled offsides. So the game ended up going 0-0. That was scary. But the games against Suriname, the game against Dominican Republic, they've been fun to watch, but they are beatable. Like, you look at Francisco Calvo, their starting center back, who played left back in the game against Suriname. They played a 4-3-3, or 4-4-2, in the game against Suriname. They played a more 5-3-2 in their next 2 games against Dominican Republic and and against Mexico. But Francisco Calvo slipped on one of the goals in the Suriname game, and he really struggled immensely in that game. He has one of the most, I can't remember if it's him or Keylor Navas is the most caps between the team, but what I can tell you is that he's the leading goal scorer in the national team. I think Manuel Agade has 12 goals to his name or something. I think Francisco Calvo is 13 as a center back. Like, there's a little bit of a cap discrepancy between the two players, but it's still kind of funny to think about. Like, we got Sergio Ramos back there in regards to scoring goals. But like I said, this team is beatable. You look at other players like Alcazar in the midfield for him. He has 2 goals to his name so far this tournament. He's been one of the better players, 20 years old. Like, they do have some good players. I don't want to take anything away from Costa Rica, and this game scares the absolute shit out of me. But if you look at some of the moments against Suriname, against the Dominican Republic, they can be beat. But if recent memory is to tell us anything about this United States men's national team, they can get beaten by anybody. And it's scary to think like that, but it's like sitting in the back of my head. Like, I'm like 90% sure that the United States can get a result in this game, but that 10%, the vocal minority just sitting right here, just yelling at me right here, just saying that, hey, we're going to have another situation like Panama, we're going to have another situation like Canada, and it's scary. It's scary, especially when you look at some of the players that they do have. Yes, again, Ugalde being out is massive for Costa Rica, but Martinez is a proven goal scorer in the MLS again. Like we talked about 8 goals. Keylor Navas is an incredible goalkeeper. That's not even being like, I'm not even exaggerating. Here's just an incredible goalkeeper. So have that vocal leader back there is huge. And having Miguel Herrera, who coached Mexico to a 2015 Gold Cup crown, is massive there as well. We brought that up in the preview. Like, this is a scary game. This is a scary game, and if you look at the starting lineup for the United States, we're going to stick with the 4-2-3-1 in here. In net, we've already talked about it. Matt Freese, I think, is going to retain his spot in there. Yes, the mistake in that game that led to the goal for Don Lucius was not ideal. It's going to be the main talking point going into that game. When they talk about Matt Freese is starting in net, how will he be able to bounce back from that error that he had against Haiti? I guarantee that's what we're going to talk about. But if you look at the back line, going to be something fairly similar. We're going to go Alex Freeman at right back, Chris Richards and Tim Ream at center back, as we've seen throughout the tournament. Left back's interesting because I thought John Tolkien played well. And if you look at the game against Switzerland, like we've talked about before, John Tolkien added a spark in that game against Switzerland. We talked about the free kick that he almost scored against Haiti. Talked about the assist he had to Patrick Ajimang. But Mauricio Pochettino loves himself some Max Arston. So we're going to stick Max Arston back into the starting lineup, though I think John Tolkien, He played well. He was one of the better performers in that game against Haiti, so I would not be shocked if he started. But the love that you see Pochettino had for Max Armstead is key. So I think we're going to stick him back in there. We're going to have Tyler Adams be back in that midfield spot. And next to him, I'm kind of, I don't really know where to go with this. Like the two people, this is what's crazy. The two people I'm struggling with next to Tyler Adams are Luca De La Torre and Sebastian Berhalter. Not the guy that just locked up a $30 million deal or £30 million deal or euro deal, whatever it is, to Atletico Madrid. Not that guy. No, it's the two guys. One's playing for San Diego FC. The other one's playing for the Vancouver Whitecaps. But I'm choosing between those two because Johnny Cardoso leading in this tournament wasn't that great, and those two have played well. And Johnny Cardoso's also battled some illness in there as well. So if I had to choose between De La Torre and Berhalter, I'm going to choose De La Torre, though Mauricio Pochettino was very vocal for his praise about Sebastian Berhalter so far this tournament. That free kick assist that he had to Chris Richards against Saudi Arabia was awesome. He's been very key on set pieces in this tournament, so I would not be surprised if he started, but De La Torre has that experience in there, so I'm going to have him next to Tyler Adams, and I thought he played well against Haiti. And if we're looking at the right, I do think, I really like Jack McGlynn. His left foot is so accurate. He can find anybody anywhere on the field, but I'm going to put Quinn Sullivan back there because Quinn Sullivan was just so dangerous against Haiti. We talked about the shot that hit the crossbar, had a couple near assists in there, had the Rabona cross in there as well. He's just a dangerous, very attack-minded player. I'm excited to see what he can do given more minutes in the national team, so I'm going to have him start on the right. On the left, this is an interesting one because Brendan Aronson had the assist against Haiti, but Mauricio Pochettino, as we talked about, players that he likes, or loves in this case, Diego Luna. And Diego Luna, he did not have the greatest game against Saudi Arabia. He did not play that well in that game, but he has been one of the most consistent performers for the United States since Mauricio Pochettino has taken over. Always fighting for the badge, sitting after fans, signing autographs so the game gets Switzerland. He's the guy that everybody wants to root for, so I do see him getting his spot back at that left midfield spot. Number 10, obviously, is Malik Tillman, the best player for the United States so far this tournament. Arguably the player of the tournament so far. Again, we talked about he could have had 10 to 20 goals in that game against Haiti alone. He's just been playing so well for the national team, and I'm excited to see what he can do with his next move, if it is to Bayer Leverkusen. Because remember, he was at Bayern Munich, so this is a move back to Germany. We'll see how he does there, see how he carries forth, because that spot for that number 10 position in 2026 could be his. It really could be, and that striker is just going to be Patrick Agyemang. Every single time I say it's going to be a different striker, it just ends up being Agyemang. So this might be the time where I say Agyemang and then Damian Downs does start. Because remember, Haji Wright's not in the tournament anymore. Maybe they play a false nine. Maybe they put Malik Tillman as a false nine in there and move Brendan Aronson to the left. Maybe they do all that stuff. I don't know. But Patrick Agyemang, with the goal in this game, with the movement that he does provide, the athletic build, the body that he has, though he's awkward with the ball at his feet. Yes, he looks like Bambi on ice. Yes, he's a limited player. But I do think there's stuff that he can improve on. And I think there is a role for him somewhere in this national team. Maybe not as the guaranteed starter, but I do think there is a role here for him. And that's going to be my lineup for the United States. And for my prediction, I'm going to have the United States come away with a 2-1 win. I do think Alonso Martinez will open up the scoring in this game. I do think the United States will follow up quickly right after that. It'd be stupid to say Malik Tillman's not going to score in this game. So I'll go with Malik Tillman scoring the first goal for the United States. And then for the last goal, I will go with, you know what? It's going to be Patrick Agyemang to win the game for the United States. That's going to be my prediction. And that's all I've got for you on this preview for the United States men's national team in their game against Costa Rica. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did not, I sincerely apologize. I'll try to be better next time. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. I would greatly appreciate that, about the Gold Cup in general, about the United States, about this game against Costa Rica, about Pochettino, Agyemang, all that great stuff. Let me know down below. Also, make sure to check out all the links in the description, Twitter, Instagram, all that great stuff. Podcast links will be down there as well. But most importantly, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you did not, again, I sincerely apologize. I'll try to be better next time. I've been Logan Blackman, and I will see you guys later. Peace.